It is time for StreetWise with former chief of the New York City Sheriff's Department, former chief of the Seagate Police Department, retired New York City detective, Time Warner Public Access Media Award, Joe Franklin Super Excellence in Broadcasting Memory Lane Award, New York Veteran Police Association StreetWise production, host of StreetWise, Mr. Lou Telano.
Good evening and welcome back to StreetWise. Tens of thousands of people that lost their lives as they were sentenced actually to death by Governor Andy Cuomo. Now, Governor Andy Cuomo had a choice as far as people that were positive COVID-19, senior citizens. Obviously, he was, I think because of Donald Trump, he had the opportunity to use the Javits Center, the opportunity to use the boat that was the hospital ship on the west side of Manhattan, yet he chose to order them into the facilities that we're talking about. Why? Well, obviously, I would think it's because it was given to us by President Donald Trump. You know, it's political. I think a lot of people lost their lives because of the stupid politics of these Democrats, and you don't mind if I say that, in regard to what's even going on today. It's just mind-boggling. So that's my thought. I think he didn't use that, the facilities that were given to him, because it was Donald Trump. Andy Cuomo gets an Emmy, right, for his great work and what he's done in regard to what we're talking. Well, I guess him and his brother from CNN, Chris Cuomo, can do a show just telling each other how wonderful they both are. The same day that he had this fundraiser, I think it was $10,000 a person or minimum. That's the same day he ordered everyone to lock in. If it wasn't for the snowstorm, you know, we'd have all the restaurants and the bars are closed, even though, and obviously our schools, which I think should be open. That's a joke, even though there's no stats really, or the lowest stats on people dying from COVID-19 as a result of going out and having dinner. I mean, it's just it's so egotistical, the both of them. So, you know, we talked about, I just want the folks to know that Andrew Cuomo, Governor Andy Cuomo, his award was from the International Academy of Television Arts and Science. It's embarrassing. You know, it's like making Joe Biden Man of the Year. It's so similar. I don't know where we're going. It's you know, if anyone should be on the cover of Man of the Year, you know who I'm talking about. It should be Donald Trump in regard to his warp speed in the vaccine that's available now. I mean, he just has Andy Cuomo has a history of criminal negligent homicide. And aside from his directive, which we touched on a moment ago, ordering COVID-19 people to go into these healthcare facilities, nursing homes, whatever, he signed something that's terrible to me personally as a Christian and Catholic, the late-term abortions, which and that's his style, that's his background. I knew his dad personally. His father and I were personal political friends. I always say political. He wasn't a close one. We go back. Him and his dad go back quite a way. And I'm going to, with Ray here, my main producer director, I'm going to do a special on. I'm giving you the first tip on this. I'm going to do a special on my conversation with Mario Cuomo in regard to his son, Andrew Cuomo. This is going to shock a lot of people. And then again, it may not. Aside from the late term abortions, Governor Cuomo approving the release of 3 cop killers in the last 2 years. This guy has a whole history. He's just an evil person. When you think back, so it does not surprise a lot of people. So he's actually, how do I say this? He's actually a murderer. When my thoughts on what's going to happen in New York City, because New York City is destroyed, and you're a New Yorker like I am. Where do you think we're heading? Let me tell you, when Andrew Cuomo was the head of HUD, I think about 2013, he was involved in the corruption scandal, and he had to leave. Then when he ran for office, for election to become governor of the state of New York, he ran on a anti-corruption theme. That was his theme, you know. And he formed a committee, special commission, and as the investigation would continue, the corruption would continue. He ended the commission when they start knocking on his door. So he's just a bad guy from day one. And the reason why I'm saying that, and you'll probably know more when I do the special with my guy here, Ray, disclosing some of his background. So this is he has a terrible track record, himself. So he's not a good guy. He's just a bad, evil guy. And it just bugs me for him to get this award. Plus, and he said it a moment ago, and he's in love with himself, pats himself on the back, and it's so mind-boggling how any New Yorker, and I'm going to include De Blasio in the same theme. How can anyone put Bill De Blasio and Andrew Cuomo to run New York? As a New Yorker, and I know I want to be repetitious, but you think New York is gone with no Broadway theaters, no restaurants. You can't go out where they want to lock us in. Kids can't go to school. All the restaurants and businesses stay open. You can't lock everybody up. And I agree with that, And I was sort of personally touched because besides my law enforcement career in New York City, I was the chief of the sheriff's department in the city of New York. And it just killed me to see my guys closing up this bar and grill in Staten Island. And I by the way, I did talk to the sheriff, who was one of my deputies when I was the chief of the sheriff's department. He said, Lou, we don't know what to do. We just don't want to do it, And can I get just some of your input and your advice? And I said, look, this is my advice. The cops are reluctant to do what they're ordered to do. Also, they're ordered to stand down during the riots and looting and arson in the city and throughout the country as well. So I said, with this mayor, if you want to keep your job, this is your choice. If you want to keep your job, you have to do what you're told. Otherwise, you're going to be history. He says, well, my guys don't want to do the job. I know they've been criticized, and some call them make-believe cops. They don't realize I was fortunate enough, John, I got to blow my horn just for 30 seconds. I was on the corner. As chief of the sheriff's department, I was on the corner of 42nd Street and 8th Avenue with Rudy Giuliani, who was the mayor at the time. And my department, with the quality of life enhancement in the city of New York, we loved closing down all those joints in Times Square. It was the sheriff's department, not the police department. We kicked in these doors. We got all the porno out of these locations and all the crap that was up there at that time. It was the sheriff's department. I got to give them a plug because they're getting terribly criticized, But the good job that they did, we were part, at least I was part, thank God, of Rudy Giuliani's enhancement of the city of New York at that time, quality of life. I hope New York comes back, because it's my city. I've been a civil servant all my life. And speak. I gave you a tip on what they're going to do about Andy Cuomo's father, Mario Cuomo. Him and I ran on the same slate together. When he ran for governor, I ran for the New York State Senate. And he asked me to run with him, Mario Cuomo, because he wanted the law enforcement image, because the perception of Democrats is ultra liberal, right? Now I think it's worse than that. I got to give my engineer, director, producer that's sitting with me tonight, Ray Bettinelli. Ray Bettinelli lost his dad during the same time, and he's going through the same tragic loss. Not good. And I lost some childhood and very close friends. And you know what they do with this, what I noticed, Ray Bettinelli, what they do on when they say on a death certificate, or when they say COVID-19, they don't say of COVID-19. They say, Ray, I think they say with COVID-19.
Correct.
Right?
Everything seems to be just.
They don't say they died of COVID-19.
Correct. We might as well tease this show coming up, because this will be part of it. Obviously, when we talk about this crazy governor of ours here in New York, he is aware that this virus, in my opinion, was, let loose to do just what it did, to create fear and panic that then could justify this nonsense we're going through now with the voting, right? The mail-in votings. So in order to create fear and panic, they need death. What better way to get that panic really arced up? And why in New York was it so bad? I mean, if you look at all the states that had the terrible, terrible death rates, you touched on it. It's all these liberal, Democrat-controlled meccas, right? So you had this man sentence these elderly to death. You touched on it. You were correct. This is really, if you want to be nice about it, negligent homicide. That he admitted putting elderly in our senior homes is like lighting with COVID, is like lighting a match to grass, right? To that effect.
I'm going to start using that. Actually, what Andy Cuomo did, he actually put them on death row.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
You know that? That's exactly right. That's what he did. Innocent people incarcerated and put on death row. Yeah. Right? But the ironic part of that, district attorney in California, instead of putting cop killers in death row, he's putting them on the street, on the row. I don't know.
Yeah,
he's putting them
Skid Row. He lets them out to go to Skid Row. Death Row. Yeah,
yeah. From death row to Skid Row, he's letting them out in the street. And then we talk about. Good point, Ray. We talking about with the people were afraid to go out and vote, so it was a great technique for these for the Democrats to utilize,
justify the illegal mail-in voting. It's terrible.
Good opportunity. They used this, so they actually gained. They gained on this COVID 19 or coronavirus or Chinese flu. They gained on that by frightening people. They wouldn't go out and vote. Yeah. So
it's going to come out, Chief. But, you know that the truth always comes to the top. It takes time sometimes. But this charade, this hoax, let's call it what it is, was designed just to do what it did, to try to get voting jammed into the ballot boxes where we've never used these kind of techniques before. You talk about circling back to this Cuomo who's in eyebrow deep. You're right. He's evil.
That's the answer. They're just evil.
They serve Satan, and he's their motivation. And it's a power thing. They serve darkness. So they do get off on this. It's beyond our comprehension because we don't work in that realm. And getting back to this governor who has single-handedly bankrupted, along with de Blasio, he stole his billion. Cuomo, I don't know how many billions he took out of this state. But
you think they'd stay low-key, but they don't. They do the opposite.
There's that power thing. They get seduced by that.
What we're talking about them now and bringing up their history is because of the things that they've done recently. Ray Bentonelli had mentioned before, we're going to give the audience a tease on an upcoming show where I'm sort of going to expose, I don't mean, but yeah, I'm going to do some talk about, I held back long enough on some of the things that Mario Cuomo, Andy Cuomo's father, in a discussion about his son, Andy. When I met Andy when he was in his 20s, in 1981, he was the campaign manager for his dad, who was running in 1982 for governor, Ray. And even at that point, he said, I got to keep my kid busy, And then, we'll do it on the show. It's going to be stuff that probably some people really realize. But so the worst that could happen is that he sent Hillary Clinton after me. All right, folks, I want to thank you for listening to StreetWise. Thanks for listening or watching StreetWise. This is Lou Telano, and I'll catch you later.